Good morning. This is John from the Springs Mennonite Church. Hope you're having a good week, even though it's early in the week, and I hope you're looking forward to having a great week. I know some of you probably aren't, but that's okay. That can change. And today, I'd like to continue with my little time in Galatians. This time, I want to do chapter 2, verses 19 and 20. Here's what it says. For when I tried to keep the law, it condemned me. So I died to the law. I stopped trying to meet all its requirements so that I might live for God. My old self has been crucified with Christ. It is no longer I who live, but Christ who lives in me. So I live in this earthly body by trusting in the Son of God who loved me and gave himself for me. Paul starts out by saying, I tried to live by the law. Now he's referring to the Old Testament law, the one that had all kinds of rules. And he says that the more I tried, the more it killed me. Now, how's that possible? If you're trying to live by the law, how can that kill you? And the answer is really pretty simple. Because the more you try to live by the law, the more you realize there are laws, more laws than you thought. The harder you try, the more you find you're failing. A lot of churches today have lots of laws. Maybe a few less than they were in the past, but still there are many around who have lots of rules. Now, I would question what those rules are founded on. But then again, I'm not in that type of place, so it doesn't really matter. It doesn't have any effect on me. But when you think about Christianity and walking with God, it's not rules. It's not laws. Oh, yeah, there are things you can't do. Of course. You can't do anything that dishonors God. But does wearing something dishonor God? I remember when people started wearing casual clothes to church, and that really offended some folks. How dare they do that? Well, I don't know. They just did. And to think that somehow God was upset because they did seemed crazy to me. I think God was thrilled that they came. Forget about the rest. Oh, I know people say, well, if they do this, then they're going to do that. Well, sure. But, I've never seen a guy come to church in cut off shorts and no top. I've never seen a woman come to church in a bikini. Doesn't mean it hasn't happened. I suppose if I had services on the beach, I'd probably have some that would come that way. But generally speaking, it's not going to be part of my world. And I don't have to worry about it. But we don't go to the extremes in order to manage the law. The more we do that, the harder it gets and the more difficult it gets. So Paul says here that I quit. I stopped trying to meet the requirements of the law. Now, it doesn't mean that he did that to just live his own life, to do whatever he wanted. Oh, no, absolutely the opposite. Because he says here, so that. Very important. I quit doing that, quit doing this, so that I might live for God. I know in my lifetime and my walk with the Lord, there are a lot of things that I thought when I was younger, I no longer think. Oh, of course, some would say, well, see, you've lost the faith. But I don't think that's it at all. My wife came from a very strict conservative religion. It was actually a Methodist related group. And her sister, who's still there after all these years, doesn't think my wife is, well, I won't say she doesn't think she's going to get to heaven, but she sure wonders. You see, living for God means that we're open to Him doing things new. And every time we think we figured God out, He does something we weren't expecting. Our job is to live a life that pleases Him and to be open to what He's doing now. I don't know if you know this, but many of the old Christian hymns were bar tunes sung in the saloons. And they took the tune, which was familiar, and changed the words. A lot of people say, well, now the music today just isn't very godly. Well, hey, where does that come from? Well, it comes from a devotion to the law. And I'm not saying we can do whatever we choose. In fact, this verse tells us that that's not the case. It says, my old self has been crucified. It is no longer I who lives, but Christ who lives in me. When we allow the Lord to live in our lives, and I don't mean just to follow rules, we allow God to work in ways we never imagined. Now, I'm not suggesting that those who are in a group that has lots of rules are terrible, horrible, or even unchristian. I don't know. But I do know that doing those outward things won't change your heart. And I also know that Jesus said, God looks at the heart. Now, if the heart is saying, live a life for Him, and the flesh, the body does differently, well, that's a problem. And everybody can see that. But when you live with the rules on the outside, but your heart hasn't changed, you've missed the whole point. God wants us to live a life with Him in all ways, in all times, in every circumstance. Paul figured it out. It's not about following rules. It's about allowing God to live in you and show you what to do today and tomorrow and the next day. Well, thanks for listening. I hope this little helps for you. I'll return to Galatians tomorrow and for a few more days here and see if we can't find some good stuff in there. If you have a need or a concern, let us know. We'll do whatever we can as fast as we can to help meet your need. God bless you. Until tomorrow, I'll talk to you again.